right, I think we will get started here. Fade this out. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's office hours. We're going to be talking about visually editing your reference with the API designer. Quick introductions. My name is Kanad. I'm an API engineer joining out of Minneapolis, joined by Mark, our head of developer experience based out of New York. Before we get started, we'll just quick talk through a few reminders. We are recording this session, so for the folks here, you'll get a link to the recording after the fact. It should be available on our YouTube channel, I believe. If you have any questions while we're presenting, feel free to drop them in the Zoom chat, and then we'll answer. We'll have a little Q&A at the end here. But yeah, so kind of a big thing that's taking place at ReadMe is like the API designer is a small part of like a bigger effort that we're doing here at ReadMe, and we're calling it ReadMe Refactored. And so ReadMe Refactored, there's a lot of different exciting aspects to this new ReadMe experience. New editing UI, so the barrier between making and previewing changes in your docs is a lot more blurred, and you can quickly edit and preview more easily. MDX is now powering our editor, which combines the best of Markdown and JSX, opens up a lot of opportunities for cool component-based documentation workflows. Bi-directional syncing. Our demo will include a little bit of that today. So that connects ReadMe and GitHub together for seamless two-way syncing of edits. So if you have members on your team that work exclusively in GitHub or vice versa in ReadMe, you don't have to pick one or the other now. Improved search that yields higher quality, more accurate results. And then what we're here for today, the API designer, an open API first visual editor for your API definition. So cool. That's that. So I'll turn it over to Mark here to talk about the API designer and how we got here.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. To give a little bit of context on like this piece of functionality in ReadMe and kind of like how we got here and what we're looking to build. If you're familiar with the old version of ReadMe and tried to document an API kind of in that interface, it was kind of like a hard choice between using OpenAPI or like syncing OAS files or documenting it in ReadMe. It wasn't very possible to jump back and forth between the two. A lot of the original version of ReadMe and by extension the original manual editor was kind of built and designed before Swagger at the time was super widespread, and then obviously it's blown up in the last 8 to 10 years and gotten a lot kind of more universal usage, right? However, everybody knows that editing and OpenAPI file directly can be kind of painful, right? They're big JSON files. They're nice for like checking things into source code and like having a strict way to define things, but they're not great at being like very human editable, right? So we wanted to try to combine the best of both worlds here. So like have ReadMe be really powered by OpenAPI files, but like have an easy way for people to kind of edit those directly within ReadMe itself. So now all of this is backed by OpenAPI. So whether you sync a file directly into ReadMe or you want to create it directly in ReadMe, you can kind of edit it the same way. And Kanad is going to go into a demo of how all of this works in a second here. But we really wanted to make sure that whether stuff was coming from GitHub, whether stuff was being edited in ReadMe, whether it's being created in ReadMe or synced from another tool, like we wanted to make sure all of these things worked really well and didn't have like a different experience depending on how you wanted to manage or edit your reference section. So yeah, that rambly kind of way to kind of show what we wanted to do here, but Kanad is going to show it and make it all very clear, hopefully. So yeah, Kanad, take it away.
I'm muted. All right. Can you all hear me now? Awesome. Live demo time. We'll see how this goes. Sweet. So I have a project here. Currently, there are no API endpoints. but we do have it wired up to a bidirectionally synced repo. This will kind of help visualize the whole relationship and like what's kind of going on behind the scenes when we make edits in the API designer. So I do have an open API file here that I'm going to get started with. So I'm going to create a new API definition. I'm going to import it from this URL here. Awesome. All right. So 3 endpoints all seem to have loaded properly. And if I refresh the page here, you can see that, oh, this is funny. When I created my account, I decided to go with Aldre3000 as my name. But I meant to change it to just Kanad demo, but we're stuck with Aldre3000. But as you can see here, it creates a lot of the kind of boilerplate files that we use to power bidirectional syncing, including that OpenAPI file that we have here. And so you can see the endpoints here, and the API designer shows up. And so this is like, as Mark mentioned, like a visual designer, a lot more human oriented. So, for folks that don't see this and go, I want to edit this, you can like literally have like a visual editor. So I guess we'll just start with something kind of small here. So this is a header parameter called API key. We will add a little description here and we'll hit save. And so that's saved, and then it's reflected pretty quickly here in our actual OpenAPI definition. If I click this view mode up here, and then if I go to the actual Git repository, you can see here that, yeah, the diff right now is a little hard to follow, but if you see here, a little description does indeed show up. So that's a great option if you do have an existing OpenAPI definition and you want to bidirectionally sync it. But for a lot of folks, uh, you know, you don't have an API definition on hand. We also have a really great visual experience for creating one from scratch. So if you click the edit button here, you go back up to this API definitions list. I'm going to click this add button, and then you can see here we have this option to build an API definition from scratch. I'm going to start building that. We're going to have a title here, my super fun API. The host URL, let's just do example.com. And you can specify various authentication types here. We'll just do bear. Why not? It's my favorite. All right. Awesome. And so it created a new category with a new kind of template endpoint here. And so if we click into here, we actually have like a full endpoint that we can update the path, the method. We can add different parameters, example responses, and the like. And I'll again show it in here in the underlying GitHub repo that it's now bidirectionally syncing with. And you can see that it indeed created all of the boilerplate files. So I'm just going to make a quick edit to this example. True. You can see it's format some JSON here. Edit this page to start documenting your API. I'll say, don't tell me what to do. Hit save. And then, yeah, if we go, it might take a few seconds. This is all kind of asynchronously running, but it does show up pretty quickly here. You can see here, yeah, the excerpt properly showed up. And then also the response example that we added is also showing up. And then if we actually view it in our underlying documentation, the example shows up here too. Yeah, and I guess one other thing I want to call out here. So for certain companies, certain teams, like this is a great workflow where like some folks are tracking their OAS file via Git, and they want to be able to kind of create a workflow for their technical writer, like their technical people on their team, as well as like the less technical folks on their team. And this bidirectionally syncing workflow works really well for y'all. But for any reason, if you want to disable the API designer, say you have like a syncing workflow and you auto-generate your open API file from some source code, we do have this option to disallow editing. And so I just toggled that here. And so if I go to any of these pages, I'll have to refresh the page here. Um, Editing limited by admin. So this prevents accidental edits if you don't want to. And if you want to re-enable it, you can always just go back there to do that. So nice little way to just create necessary friction around the workflow if need be. Cool. Okay, I will head back to our little slides here. I kind of got started on some of those call outs. I'll turn it over to Mark to just wrap things up.
Yeah, just a few things to note kind of about this. All projects that have migrated to the new experience will have access to this. And most projects should be eligible to upgrade. We're currently trying to focus our efforts on the most common Open API use cases and features. If you've ever looked at the Open API spec, there's a lot there. There's a lot of features that are less commonly used and very complicated and are kind of hard to represent in the UI. So we wanted to make sure that we started with the things that hit most APIs and then kind of broaden from there. Some notable call outs of features that we don't support yet are things like refs. If you're referencing an object or something through multiple places in your OS file, we don't have support for editing that. Things like common parameters, polymorphism, a lot of the kind of more advanced OS functionality is currently not supported. However, since as Kanad showed, it's all working on OS behind the scenes. If you are using one of those features, you can continue to edit it in GitHub and through the syncing. You can edit it in the file directly and upload it to us and continue to sync it how you used to. Only editing from that specific UI is not supported, but we still do support files with those features. And so as we are rolling this out and as we're kind of continuing to work on it, we're looking to add a lot more of that stuff over the coming months. And, as OAS releases new things in the future, continue to add support for all of that stuff as well. The nice thing about this as well from our side is since it's kind of a ground up rewrite and, a more modern kind of OAS first, right? Since our old one kind of was written before Swagger and OpenAPI was a thing, it means that it's much easier for us to add kind of these features going forward, which is really exciting on our end. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, yeah, now's the time. Feel free to post in the chat or speak up. We're happy to answer any questions about kind of editing the API files, OpenAPI, or reference section, kind of anything. We're happy to help with.